Welcome to the Happier and Healthier podcast. I'm your host, Maria Marlowe, and this is a place where we don't rely on good luck or good genes for our health and happiness, but rather we create it with our thoughts and our actions each and every single day. Each week, I'll bring you a thought or a guest that will help you live your happiest and healthiest life. Are you ready? Welcome back to the Happier and Healthier podcast. Today, we're talking about bodywork and how movement and touch can actually help us release built up pain and trauma from our past. Now, if you've been listening to the podcast recently, you know that this is a topic I've become highly interested in because I find the whole concept mind-blowing. And having experienced various different bodywork techniques like craniosacral therapy, myofascial release, other similar techniques, with great results, I can say that these therapies are honestly life-changing. So today I brought on a bodywork expert. His name is Edan Harari, and he is the founder of Kinetic Body Therapy in New York City. In this episode, we'll discuss the importance of breathwork, movement, and touch. Then Edan is going to walk us through a great exercise that you can do to calm your nervous system in times of stress. Are you interested in cooking healthier at home but don't know where to start? I'm here to help. If you want to learn how to make healthy food taste delicious at home, sign up for my brand new online cooking course, Healthy by Marlowe Cooking School. This completely digital program will teach you the skills you need to whip up flavorful, craveable, nutrition-packed meals, mostly in 25 minutes or less. You'll learn how to chop, sear, saute, roast, and steam like a pro. Unlike most cooking courses, which focus solely on technique with no regards to health, in this cooking course, we'll focus on technique, nutrition, and flavor so that you and your family actually look forward to eating healthy food. By the end of this 4-week class, you'll feel more comfortable and confident in the kitchen and leave with more than a dozen easy recipes that you can alternate and repeat. You'll even learn how to whip up a nutritious, flavorful, craveable meal with whatever ingredients you have on hand. No recipe needed. To join, head to mariamarlowe.com/cooking-school and sign up today. If you're looking to improve your health, and especially if you want to improve your digestion, you have to check out the probiotic brand Hyperbiotics. It's the most effective probiotic that I've found on the market, and it's the brand that I personally use and recommend to all of my clients. It's so effective because it's made with 15 different strains of probiotics that have been scientifically shown to benefit digestive and overall health, including weight management, reproductive health, and mood. They're also clinically shown to be 15 times more effective than the common probiotic capsules that you'll find at the health food store. Hyperbiotics has helped many of my clients and myself get rid of bloating, increase regularity, and maintain a flat stomach and healthy digestion. For being so high quality, you expect them to be super expensive, but they're extremely affordable at just $25 for a 1-month supply. Plus, you get an additional 20% off with the code HYPERMARIA. Head to hyperbiotics.com, that's HYPERBIOTICS.com, and use the code HYPERMARIA for 20% off. If you're looking for all-natural skincare products without harsh chemicals, useless fillers, or other nasty things you don't want in your bloodstream, check out Primally Pure. It's a California-based skincare line that started from a farm, so you can bet that all the ingredients are all natural yet extremely effective. I love their beauty cream, fancy face serum, and deodorant. Head to primallypure.com and use code MARIA10 for 10% off your order. Edan, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Maria.
So let's start with kinetic release therapy. What exactly is that?
So kinetic release therapy is just a name, KRT. It's just a name that I give to my healing system. And my name of my practice, I guess, if you will, is Kinetic Body Therapy. I'm a body therapist. And so, yeah, I just came up with a name for my own method. That's all.
Okay, and what does this method entail exactly?
So, as a manual therapist and body therapist, my particular healing method that I work with my clients both in person and online in Zoom sessions is a combination of many different modalities and techniques that work with hands-on touch and pressure in the body, as well as breathwork, guided somatic-based meditations, movement, many different things. Many different things. It just depends. So essentially, my training is as an osteopathic-based manual therapy practitioner. So at first, I was a massage therapist, and my practice evolved to working with osteopathy and manual osteopathy. Osteopaths are medical doctors or doctors of osteopathy that are trained in hands-on manipulation of the body to support healing. And so, yeah, it's just a combination of many different things that I've learned through the years in my formal education and also non-formal education of just going through healing experiences in my life, right? And healing myself and receiving healing from other facilitators.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your story. So, how did you find all of these healing modalities? What brought you to them?
Well, I was always drawn to like touch therapies and massage and things like that, even as a child. I've been walking on my dad's back since like the age of 3. Okay. And my dad is one of those massage enthusiasts. And so I grew up with a lot of just, therapeutic, I guess you could say, touch therapy influence in my life. And then I just always found myself drawn to the human body and anatomy and just muscles and science. And so eventually I was in the restaurant business, like fast forward to when I was about 18, I think, when I first started going through some pretty major anxiety and stress in my life due to working at my dad's nightclub and restaurant and jazz club in New York City here in the Greenwich Village. And I found myself really in need of some relief. And actually, even before that, I was also suffering with some anxiety when I was in high school, and I found yoga. So there's many different things that happen in my life that draw me to find holistic healing, right? Whether it's through movement and yoga and dance and massage therapy. So when I was working for my dad's club, one of my waitresses that were working for me, I was the manager there at the time. She was like, you seem pretty stressed. Go get a massage. Like, I'm going to refer you to a friend of mine who does Thai yoga massage. Try this. It's amazing. And I'm like, oh, wow. And I was into yoga by then, right? I was into it and I was like, cool, I'm down to try this. And it was life-changing for me. This hour-and-a-half session that I had with this stranger just like changed my life, at that point. And I realized the power of healing, of touch, of pressure into the body, of yoga, right? So with Thai yoga massage and just Thai massage, for anybody who doesn't know, it's sort of like lazy man's yoga. And I was big on yoga back then. I became a yoga teacher when I was 21. I actually started teaching yoga back then. I'm 40 now. So this was way before yoga was a thing. I had to become a teacher because nobody knew about it. And I had to share it with the Western culture of where I lived here in Brooklyn. And it was an honor to do that back then. But yeah, I just found myself always drawn to holistic healing arts because they've always helped me when I found that I didn't really receive a lot of results that were beneficial to me from my doctors at the time, whether it's physical medicine doctors or mental health, practitioners like psychiatry, which I started getting into, unfortunately, when I was around the age of 19, 20, where I found myself dealing with mental health issues, anxiety, panic attacks, depression, and smoking cannabis back then, it didn't really help. I was doing that daily to cope with the anxiety of being a sensitive. I find myself to be what I call a sensitive, or someone who is intuitive and really sensitive and feeling a lot of energy, which can be many different things. Some people call it an empath in the new age world. Other people will say, it's just someone who's been through a lot of trauma, who's very neurologically sensitive, right? I mean, I can go on and on, right? But
Well, I'd love for you to share a little bit because you're talking about stress and anxiety and these issues that are generally seen as more mental health issues, right? But what you're talking about as a solution for it is more physical, body work type solutions, movement and myofascial release and this kinetic body therapy. So, can you talk a little bit about what's the link and why are these physical practices so helpful for dealing with emotional issues?
yes, absolutely. Recently, I heard maybe a couple years ago or something like that, Joe Dispenza was saying that our body is our unconscious mind or subconscious mind, one or the other. And so essentially, our body is simply a reflection of what's going on mentally, emotionally, internally, right? In fact, spiritually as well, if we want to go there, even, right? And so when we understand this deep connection between our body and our mind. And if we have mental health related conditions, for instance, such as stress, anxiety, panic attacks, depression, any sort of mental health issues, addictions, right, which is also a mental health related condition, if you will. And we can actually work with our body, with the physicality of our body, with our muscles, with our bones, joints, with movement, with breath work, with eye movements, with all these different techniques that access our healing capacity of our mind, body, spirit complex, if you will. Because we are not just the body, we are not just a mind and these thoughts and our brain and brain activities and the mind, which essentially is not necessarily in our brain. That's a whole nother topic to unpack. But essentially, we are a mind, body, spirit, complex. We're like multidimensional beings, and without getting too esoteric, we're multidimensional. And so our body is simply a reflection of what's going on in our mind, and especially our unconscious mind, right? So it's psychosomatic. So psycho being of psyche of the mind, and then somatic is soma as being the body and its the organism of our body and its processes. So I'm a somatic therapist. I work with the body, with the soma. And essentially working with our body is a really tremendous access point for health of all aspects of health, right? Not just physical health, mental, emotional health, spiritual health, right? And spiritual fitness, which is what I like to call it. It's just like this constant inner work and spiritual work that we do, or self-mastery for all the high performers out there who I work with some high performers, high performing CEOs who are all about like, how can I biohack? How can I, enhance my performance? And so even if people are not into the spiritual aspect, there's a way to enhance our health and optimize our health of all aspects of our health through working with our body.
Yeah, I've actually had quite a few guests on the podcast to talk about this link between our emotions and our physical body and just how our emotions and fears and grief and trauma actually get trapped in our cells and they need some sort of release, whether it's movement or physical manipulation with massage or myofascial release or breathing or meditation. Somehow we need to process these emotions and get them out of our body. There's many different ways to do it, but we have to do it. So I'm curious, do you have any basic healing exercises that you can share that we can do ourselves? Maybe, for example, now it's a time where a lot of people are feeling very fearful and anxious about everything that's going on with this global pandemic. So anything that people can do in the moment to self-soothe and calm down that nervous system?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a really potent way to access some of the techniques or wisdom, if you will, with in the work that I do with my clients one-on-one is using a combination of some breath work and some feeling or somatic based meditation. And so we can actually do that now, which is kind of cool. So I do this with clients over Zoom, working with clients around the world for the last several years, both training therapists as well as working with everyday people who are looking to heal. And so there are so many different ways that we can access healing or medicine, if you will. There's many ways to receive this medicine. And so I think a really potent tool to use, again, is a combination of breath work and movement, and also some pressure into different key areas of our body. So why don't we all just take a deep breath and start with the breath work? And so a really important practice of breath work that we can use to begin to soothe our nervous system is to slow our breath down. And doing that, we can do like a boxed breathing technique where we can inhale for a count of, let's do 6 for today, where we're inhaling for a count of 6. We're holding our breath for a count of 6. We are exhaling for a count of 6, and then we're pausing and creating a space for another count of 6. So imagining almost like a box. And then I think this is called the boxed breathing technique. So you can visualize this kind of box and how we're inhaling along, which is one of the sides of the box, right? If you can visualize that. And then we're going through this exercise. And I recommend, maybe we don't have the time to go through the full exercise, but you could? You want to do it?
Yeah, why don't we, a lot of people are probably, well, I was going to say a lot of people listen to this while they're driving, but everybody.
So if you're listening to this while you're driving, I don't recommend you practice this.
Yeah.
In fact, if you're listening to this while you're driving, I've been told that my voice is soothing enough that you may start to fall asleep. So you don't want to do that.
Don't do it if you're driving, but if you're home or if you're cooking, and you're in a place where you don't have to keep your eyes on the road, then I think why don't we just do one example? Because I feel like it's always with breath work. I feel like breath work is so powerful, but it's so simple that people often overlook it. And that would be a terrible thing to do. So I would love for you to walk us through just one round of the box breathing.
Yeah. And this is the thing. So I'm not a specialist, an expert in breath work. I just use it as one of the many tools in my toolkit, right? So there's so many different types of breath work exercises that people can do, but the breath is free. It's there. And so once I started practicing, using the breath as a tool, as a way to soothe and calm my nervous system, I realized how potent it was. And I started using that in my sessions with clients, like intuitively, and it started to really help. And in fact, my body therapist, who is my mentor right now, he also uses breath work here and there in combination with different eye movements and different techniques that look like EMDR as well. And so there's so many different techniques, right? And so I think breath work is oftentimes a really potent access point to our body, to our somatic experience, to trauma, to spirit, some people will say, right? So I think, using our breath is really a great way to soothe our nervous system. And let's do it. Let's do a little bit of breath work right now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to combine the breath work, right, with some pressure into different key areas of our body. So for the purpose of this podcast and an episode that you can't see me, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on pressing into our sternum and this chest plate that we have right in the center of our chest. And so there's a bone right in the center of our chest, and most people can feel into that. So that's what we're going to press for today. We're going to press there, and we're also going to press in one other place in our jaw. We're going to press into the masseter muscle, which is this thick band of muscle that is basically right where our jaw lies, and it's sort of like the muscle of mastication or chewing, right? So it's that you can feel into it. If everybody just takes their middle fingers and presses into the side of their jaw, on their jawline, and if you even just kind of squeeze your teeth together, right, or just like grind your teeth for a second, you can feel that muscle pop into your hand. Can you feel that, Maria?
Yes, I just felt that.
Perfect. So that's the muscle. And, so the thing is, if you're not exactly on that muscle or on the sternum, it's fine. Just be in that area. And what we're going to do is we're going to press in really hard into those two areas for today, but we're going to start with the breathwork exercise. So let's all go ahead.
Okay, wait, I have one question. I just have one question.
Sure.
When you're pressing, does it matter how your hand is?
Good question. So you're going to use your middle fingers for this, and you're going to just use the fingertips of your middle fingers, and that's it. And just press in. We're going to press in quite hard. So for this pressure that we're doing an energy work technique. This is a technique that is one of the many techniques in my system that is based in a body therapy that releases emotions, that is there to trigger us so that we can feel our shit. I hope it's okay that I'm curse on your podcast. So, feeling our stuff, okay, feeling into our body is key to healing. To heal, we must feel, my friends, right? And so this is just a way to access some of those feelings. Now, some of us are going to be more connected to those feelings than others. Some of us are going to be like, oh, okay, I can feel some emotions coming up. I can feel some sadness. I can feel some anger. I can feel some anxiety or fear, especially in these uncertain times that we're in right now. And others are going to be like so disconnected from their feelings and so used to suppressing their feelings that what happens is they try these exercises and they're like, I don't really feel anything. And because they're in their head, right? And they're so in their head that essentially they are not aware of how, there's an emotional process happening. Now, emotion is just motion, right? It's just energy in motion. Right? And for those of you who don't even want to use the word energy, we don't have to, but essentially it's just like motion. It's movement. It's movement within our body. It's a physiological, natural process that we are it's really important that we all go through that natural process. And when we don't, we get ill, we have dis-ease, we have dysfunction, both physical, mental, emotional dysfunction that happens when we don't feel our emotions. And the reason why I think children and animals are so liberated in their bodies and they're so free and limber and supple is because they're not holding on to that tension from blocking all this energy from moving through them, right? This emotion. And so I think the more as adults that we can let that energy flow through our bodies, the more free and liberated we're going to be and less tense and more mobile and just free that we're going to be in our bodies. And I'm all about like just liberating our body, right? When we liberate our body, we liberate our mind.
Yes. Right? And it is just so interesting how there is this correlation between physical pain, like, for example, back pain, which I don't know the exact number, but some exorbitant number of people in the US anyway suffer from back pain. And back pain can be connected to emotional pain and to different or basically not dealing with stress or anxiety or maybe it's fear, whatever it is. So I just find that really interesting. And even with our face, I feel like over time, our face kind of gets etched into the emotions that we're feeling, and we just have these little things like we hold our cheek to one side more. Like for example, like I always smile more to one side than the other. And like there's these little sort of idiosyncrasies that we have. And it's just we end up, I think, whatever we're holding in or not processing, our muscles sort of freeze in a area, and then we do have to somehow process that emotion and release that muscle to release it and to go back to our normal state of being supple and more childlike.
Absolutely. I mean, there's this thing that happens in our body that when we go into this fight, flight, freeze response of just stress, and I call stress just saying no to whatever is arising, right? And anytime we're going into that state of saying no, in the state of fear, which could be conscious or unconscious, we tense up. And I like to visualize this as I'm a very visual person, and I like to visualize it as like a tightly clenched fist, and our muscles are like becoming this tightly clenched fist that's holding on to all this tension. And so movement and also just feeling into that will start to soften that tightly clenched fist, right? And so there's lots of different techniques essentially, but what we want to realize is that unconsciously, every single day we're going about our lives, we have no idea that we're doing this, but when we're in stressful situations, now stress of not just the mind, but stress of the body. So something could be a physical stressor. And then there's the mental, emotional stressors, right? Which is just like general everyday stress, right? Even multitasking is stressful to our nervous system. So a lot of people who are multitasking every day, they don't realize that that is causing a tremendous amount of stress to their nervous system and to our nervous system. And that causes more of these tightly clenched fists or like muscles that are just holding on to that energy, to that motion. Instead of the motion moving through us, it becomes this blockage. It's just a blockage, right? And that's what emotional energetic blockage is in our body. It's like these moments of time that are stored in our tissues, in our fascial system. The fascia is the connective tissues in our body, and our nervous system and our auric field, our entire being, right? We have these blockages of this energy essentially. And it's tension. It's just tension. And softening this tension is key. It's the key to being healthy, liberated, free, mobile, agile, being able to dance well and move well. Or be an amazing athlete. I mean, I'm an athlete and I'm a dancer and I love to move. And so I want to be able to move my body with freedom, right? And so I think most of us want that. Most of us want to be like a supple leopard, if you will. Is what Kelly Starrett says, and so I really love that idea of like, how can we be a supple leopard? How can we be like agile and free like an animal or like a child, right? Like an infant.
Yeah.
I mean, you see how they move, you see how like free they are in their bodies. And so, I mean, we can go on and on about this. Let's dive into the exercise. People are probably like,
let's do that.
People are probably like, well, come on, what about that exercise?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. So let's feel into this first, okay? So that we can talk about this with more understanding once we feel it. I think the key to healing is feeling, and I think that with understanding any of these things I talk about, it's really about feeling it, right? And so let's feel it in our body right now. Let's all take a deep breath and close our eyes and settle into our seat. Hopefully we're sitting down comfortably somewhere. I recommend doing this seated in an upright position because if you're laying down, sometimes you can fall asleep because it is super and deeply relaxing. So we're sitting upright in an upright position, softening our spine a little bit. And we're going to focus on our breath now. We're going to breathe only from the nose right now as we inhale from our nose for a count of 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're going to pause for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're going to exhale slowly from our nose for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then we're going to pause for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And we're going to do one more round, inhaling for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then exhaling slowly, resisting that breath from pushing out for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. With our eyes closed, softening our jaw, feeling into our body, feeling into our seat, feeling into the different spaces in our body, noticing the different areas and regions of our anatomy, of our body, and just feeling for a moment. Seeing if we can notice any shifts, seeing if we can feel if we're perhaps slightly calmer than we were when we started. And just noticing our current state, the way we feel in our body. Maybe we're not able to feel into our body yet. Maybe we're still in our heads. Maybe we're still wondering, am I doing this right? Maybe we're still noticing these racing thoughts. When we're in that stress-based state of mind, we have many racing thoughts, and it's very hard to connect with our body. But these breathwork exercises that we just went through, this exercise is a great access point to soothe our nervous system enough so that we can begin that process of feeling. So we're just starting here. And so if you're very stuck in your head, now we'll do another exercise to see if we can get a little bit more into our body, more embodied. We're going to press into those areas we spoke about before with the middle fingers. We'll start with the jaw, pressing into our jaw muscles and seeing if we can activate. So our eyes are still closed. We're still feeling. We're still staying inside, having this internal experience instead of an external experience. Like letting go of agendas, letting go of distractions, and pressing in. Now, for those of us who can press in hard enough to really feel it, do that. For those of us who have any jaw issues or conditions, we might want to be more gentle. Listen to your body here. Don't use too much force. But at the same time, if you're finding yourself really rigid and stiff and very much in your head, you can press in pretty damn hard and don't worry so much about it, right? Our body's quite resilient. So we're pressing into those muscles, pressing, seeing if you can strum those muscle bands and strings like a guitar. Okay, you're strumming really, really fast. So we're thinking about activating that part of our body and bringing awareness and attention to that part of our body. And then we're going to move to the other location on our sternum, right in our chest, in the center of our chest, that long bone that's right in between our chest muscles, right at the center of our chest. Pressing into there, you're going to feel some discomfort if there's a blockage there. So wherever there's blockage in either one of these two locations that we're doing today, you're going to feel tension, you're going to feel tenderness, you're going to feel stuckness, you're going to feel like ouch. And so if there is ouch there, if there is pain, as you're pressing, especially if you press in hard to start, then just know that it may be that it's just blocked, right? These are key areas where we do hold on to some emotional blockage, if you will, or just muscular armor, right? It's this unconscious armoring and contraction. So we're pressing into these areas. I want you to go back and forth from the chest to the jaw and alternate for a total of 10 seconds, for the next 10 seconds on your own, pressing in as hard as you can handle, okay, without harming yourself, of course. But think about strumming the muscles and pressing in to activate yourself, right, with our eyes closed, and we're still feeling 10 seconds. Okay, now we're going to go back to the breath. We're going to pause. Now we're just going to be aware of our breath. Our hands are on our laps, and we're just becoming aware of the breath. And then we're going to do another box breathing technique for a moment. We're going to inhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Pausing for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Exhaling for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Pausing for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now just pause and feel. Just notice. curiosity. Let go of agendas. Feel into your body. Is there any emotion? Is there any motion? Is there any movement within? Is there any heat? Can you feel some blood moving? Can you feel into your blood vessels? Can you feel into your chest, into your jaw, to your face? Let's soften our eyes a bit. Softening the space around our brows, our temples, our jaw. And we'll do one more round of pressing into those two key areas. Dive in. Go ahead and try it, guys. Just dive in, press into your jaw and press into your chest. Maybe go back and forth, trigger yourself for, let's do another 10 seconds. 10 seconds of activation. We're just bringing awareness there. We're just strumming those strings like a guitar. And we're pressing in as hard as we can handle. And even if it is uncomfortable, sometimes we can still do it unless we're super sensitive. Then we can do it lightly. We don't have to press in hard if we're super sensitive. But again, if the more that we're in our head, the more we have to press hard into our body so that we can come back into our body, right? We're just bringing sensation, stepping into the felt sense. Most of us are not there. We're in our heads, right? We're thinking, we're doing. Even now, just bringing the awareness to my voice and to guidance and instruction is taking us out of our body, right? Into our mind, into more of that mental awareness. I want you to step into the somatic awareness, the physical awareness. And so I recommend doing these exercises on your own without my guidance, just trying it and doing as many rounds as you need. It's a great tool.
Yeah,
Notice, Maria.
It's definitely very relaxing and calming. I have a few questions after doing this.
Yes, please.
First off, because we're pushing in certain points, for some reason, this has me thinking about reflexology, which is with your feet, right? And how there's different areas on your feet that correspond to different organs. And if you have a pain in those different, a specific area of your foot, that might mean a blockage somewhere else. Okay, so this is
different. Yeah, this is a different thing. So there's so many different technologies, if you will, of our body and massage and pressure and manual therapy, where there's reflexology, there's acupressure, acupuncture, there's meridian work, there's chakra work with like people who are doing things like Reiki. There's so many different, I guess you could say, maps, right? And really what I do is I just focus on a very general approach to where we're holding on to muscular armor. Okay, so we want to think of this as a way of just releasing some of the armor. So when we get into a stressful situation, think of like Game of Thrones kind of stuff where you put on like this armor, right? So we're carrying a big, heavy shield. Now imagine we're all walking around as warriors, as humans in our life, right? We're warriors, right? We're stepping out into the war every day of like the stress of life and work and kids and family and everything else, right? And so we're going out as warriors. We're carrying this heavy shield, yet we have on our body this super high-tech, thin, breathable, lightweight armor that's just there. It's called fascia. That's our connective tissue. And so we have that, right? And so imagine we have that, but we're carrying around this heavy shield. Now, this shield that we're carrying is putting up this shield and carrying this shield ever since that we've had a traumatic experience. Now, any traumatic experience that we experience in our life causes us to armor up and put up more armor. So it's almost like we put up this shield, we protect our heart, we protect ourselves from getting hurt again, right? We have this unconscious response that happens in our body neurologically, physically, emotionally, that we end up clenching and tensing up. And we always end up having that in our body for the rest of our life until we clear it out with someone such as myself working with this armor, with this body, right? And so we want to visualize that we're carrying this heavy shield and we can drop that shield because we have this super thin, high-tech armor on our body that's going to protect us and nothing can go through. And so we also want to imagine that we're also wearing another 4 or 5 layers of armor unnecessarily. So my work in this world is to get people to release this armor, to disengage some of this armor. We don't need to be carrying that much heaviness. We don't need to be carrying all that past trauma in our tissues, in our body, in our physical body. And so these exercises are designed by pressing into our chest, into our jaw, like we're doing today. This is just a special exercise that is going to begin to disengage the armor. That's all. It's very simple. So when we press into these areas, which is like the armor, it sort of tells our body, oh, I'm armored. And our body unconsciously is going to start to release that tension. It's no longer going to carry that tension. But in order to make our body aware, and even aware that it is holding on to tension, we need to press in hard enough to make our body aware. That's all it is. We're just bringing awareness there. So it's not like acupressure. It's not like trigger point work or massage or manual therapy. It's not like reflexology. There's so many things, right? And so this is a totally different technique. This is an emotional release technique, and it's basically working on releasing and disengaging the armor. Does that make sense?
Got it. Yeah. Now, the body is an incredible organism, and it's just amazing how there are so many different therapies and so many different ways that we can start releasing these built up emotions and stress and anxiety through different types of physical manipulation.
Yeah. Our body is so intelligent and wise. And I think, so I work with all the laws of nature. And our body naturally can heal itself. And so I work with the laws of homeopathy and like cures like, and letting the body self-correct. And so these techniques are there to allow our body to self-correct because it knows how to heal. It just needs a little bit of a reminder. That's essentially all I'm doing with my clients, just reminding their body that like it can heal. Right. And so sort of like when you take a remedy and it stimulates your body to self-correct in the same way, this is the remedy. This is another option. It's another access point to healing and health. And what is health? And healing is just becoming whole, right? It's a mind, body, spirit, like wholeness to ourselves. And it's when we're disconnected and we're misaligned energetically, emotionally, spiritually, then that's where we're going to have dis-ease, right? And lack of ease. And we're going to have dysfunction and mental health related conditions and things like that. And we're going to see those mental health related conditions rise right now during this, pandemic that we're facing right now. Right. And so I think it's really important that we all support each other and that we all do different exercises like this and different manual therapies and body therapies and breathwork and movement and meditation, right? All these different things that are essentially tools for accessing healing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think we all need to build up our toolkit of different practices, like you said, meditation and breathing and body work and all these different things that we can access and do whenever we need to deal with stress and need to process our emotions. So I'm 100% with you. This has been really insightful and very interesting. I'd love to ask you just one more question. If there's one tip that you can leave our audience on how they can live a happier and healthier life, what would that be?
It would be to use movement as medicine each and every day. Exercise and movement is the number one stress reliever of all time. And if we just move our bodies, in fact, using something like dance or any sort of intense physical exercise, either 15 to 30 minutes of that a day, really getting our sweat on, is going to release enough endorphins to prevent most mental health issues, including depression, anxiety, and the like. So move, guys. If there's anything I share with you today, it's just move your body as much as possible, because if you don't move, you won't be able to, first off, and then also you won't be moving that energy that we talked about today, that we worked with today.
Yeah, that's great advice. Well, thank you so much, Edan. And if you want to learn more about Edan and what he does and how you can work with him, you can head to kineticbodytherapy.com. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Maria, for having me.